In Miami, the men in blue have little patience for those who don't exhibit proper respect for the law. The Dolphin defense has a similar penchant for toughness, and last weekend their reputation alone was enough to cause Colt quarterback Art Schlichter to exhibit a shaky trigger finger. Both Schlichter and Mike Pagel found any attempt to perpetrate the Miami defense a costly mistake. Don McNeil's interception return made honest citizens out of the Colts, while Miami quarterback Dan Marino and the offense committed ghastly crimes against the Indianapolis defense. With the ability to steal a game right out from underneath an opponent, Marino and Mark Duper are a Bonnie and Clyde combination that have made the Dolphins the highest scoring team in football. Duper scored twice against the Colts, as did halfback Woody Bennett, who found when running behind newly acquired 270-pound fullback Pete Johnson, there's only one way to get into the end zone. With a 44-7 win, the Dolphins stole the show in Miami and remain one of 3 unbeaten teams in the NFL. In Week 3, Patriot quarterback Tony Eason stole the show in a come-from-behind win over Seattle. And last Sunday, he hoped to do the same, this time at the expense of Joe Theismann and the Redskins. However, making his first start of the season, Eason had some difficulty coming to grips with his newly acquired responsibility. The Redskin defense kept the Patriots' offense under wraps and off the board for 2 quarters before Eason finally hooked up with wide receiver Stephen Starring. But the Patriots eventually slipped the noose around their own neck with their inability to stop John Riggins. Washington climbed aboard Riggo's aching back, and the Diesel huffed and puffed his way through the Patriot defense for 140 yards and his 100th career touchdown. Thanks to Riggins, Washington kept the ball for more than 43 minutes. And thanks to 4 Mark Mosley field goals and a Joe Theismann touchdown pass, the Redskins hung New England out to dry 26-10. While Washington is motivated each week by the desire to repeat as NFC champions, last Sunday the Cowboys hoped honorary co-captain Bob Lilly would provide the team with a little incentive against Green Bay. Unfortunately for Dallas, while the defense was sitting back with their feet up on Lilly's workmate, the Packers' Robert Brown, number 93, was busy doing a little handiwork on a Cowboy screen. Brown's touchdown was Green Bay's only score, as quarterback Lynn Dickey must have thought it was raining Dallas defensive backs. While Dickey drowned under a steady downpour of blitzes, Cowboy running back Tony Dorsett's quick feet helped him dodge raindrops as well as Packer defenders. Dallas's 20-6 win kept them tied with the Giants at 3-1 atop the NFC East. The Packers, on the other hand, who hoped coach Forrest Gregg would stir the winds that would carry them to the top of the division, are now 1-3 and feeling dead on the water. Last Sunday, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were walking tall as they entered Giants Stadium. They were fresh off their first victory of the season, and with Steve DeBerg as their starting quarterback, their confidence was high. But it was shattered the moment Lawrence Taylor set his sights on cutting DeBerg, and the Buccaneers backed down to size. It was a long and frustrating afternoon for DeBerg as he learned the hard way that number 56 is at his dangerous best when he momentarily disappears from a quarterback's field of vision. Taylor personally registered 4 of the Giants' 5 sacks, and his intimidating presence carried contagiously over to the rest of the Giant defense. The Buccaneers did not take these repeated body blows without some counter-punching of their own, but their fight plan backfired when this double-barrel blitz was perfectly read by Giant quarterback Phil Simms, who hit a wide-open Bob Johnson, number 88, for the game's first touchdown. Although the Giants were winning on points, the Bucs stayed off the ropes and kept this fight close, and Phil Simms was not able to deliver a knockout blow until late into the final round. Zeke Mowatt's 21-yard fourth-quarter touchdown gave the Giants a 17-7 lead, which proved to be decisive as they held on to win 17-14. While the Giants were battling it out with the Bucs, up in Buffalo, the Bills and the Jets were butting heads with each other in a main event that made the Meadowlands clash seem like a preliminary bout. The Bills and Jets rivalry is a long and fierce one, and this year's first renewal could have easily ended in a TKO for both of them. And not the team in the white trunks decided that their victory could only be achieved by turning this barroom brawl into a graceful ballet. Once the punches ceased and the pirouettes began, it was the Jets who showed the fastest hands and the flashiest footwork, most of it courtesy of wide receiver Wesley Walker, number 85. After visiting the end zone just once in his first 3 games, Walker teamed up with quarterback Pat Ryan and exploded for 3 touchdown catches as the Jets pulled out a 28-26 victory over the winless Bills. Point-wise, this would have been last Sunday's closest encounter had it not been for the seesaw sparring session that took place under Detroit's Silverdome. The Vikings opened the scoring on this 26-yard touchdown strike from Tommy Kramer to Sammy White, number 85. And they never let up, punching 430 total yards through the tough Lion defense. But it was Detroit's Gary Danielson who performed like a heavyweight champion, as he hit on 24 of 30 passes, including the 66-yard flea flicker bomb to Leonard Thompson, number 39. On the day, Danielson threw for 4 touchdown passes, but it could not offset 3 Detroit turnovers in the second half. The most costly coming when Lion punt returner Robbie Martin, number 83, coughed up the football into the awaiting arms of Viking linebacker Chris Martin, number 94, who waltzed into the end zone with an easy score. The Vikings prevailed 29-28 for their second straight victory of the season. As for the defending division champion Lions, well, they've been on the short end of 3 out of 4 close decisions this year. And these days, with his team lying flat on the canvas of the NFC Central, head coach Monty Clark is not really walking very tall. In Seattle last week, some people offered impersonations of their favorite Seahawks, and this band's imitation of receiver Steve Largent was as catchy as anything in master mimic Rich Little's repertoire. No doubt the copycat spent hours rehearsing in front of a mirror to get his Largent act down. But while it was a good impression, the genuine article has a unique personal style that just can't be imitated. Against Chicago, Largent number 80 set up a third-period touchdown run by Dave Craig, who also teamed up with number 37, Eric Lane, for a 55-yard scoring play. It was a frustrating day for the Chicago defense, and it almost seemed like the Bears had chosen not to diagram offensive plays. Instead, it appeared as if they simply drew a huge picture of Walter Payton on a chalkboard and hoped for the best, which is what number 34 always gives. Payton passed for a score and also ran for 116 yards to become the NFL's second leading rusher of all time. But when he wasn't involved in the action, Chicago was positively unbearable. Chicago suffered 6 turnovers, 3 of which were instantly transformed into Seattle touchdowns. Though the Bears had entered this contest with a 3-0 record, they were unable to sustain their impression of a tough football team. A 38-9 defeat dropped them from the unbeaten ranks in resounding fashion. In Philadelphia, Eagles owner Leonard Toews had brashly predicted that his team would become the first on the NFL block to beat the San Francisco 49ers. Though the Birds stayed close for a half, they couldn't keep pace with the Niners, who are off to their fastest start since 1952. Number 26, Wendell Tyler, rushed for over 100 yards while leading a San Francisco ground game that provided reserve quarterback Matt Cavanaugh with plenty of play-calling options. Cavanaugh started in place of a sore-ribbed Joe Montana, and for the 62,000-plus in attendance who had hoped to see how Montana works his magic, the switch must have been like getting tickets for The Tonight Show, only to discover that Johnny Carson is on vacation. But Cavanaugh was supplied with plenty of fresh material by head coach Bill Walsh, and he commanded center stage by throwing for 3 scores. Replacing Montana in the 4th period against New Orleans 2 weeks ago, Cavanaugh has matched the main man's total of 4 touchdown passes, and his 51-yarder to Dwight Clark, number 87, provided San Francisco with its longest scoring play of the young season. Now the NFC's lone undefeated team, the 49ers, produced a 21-9 win that proved that they are running on a full tank. Matt Cavanaugh allowed them to demonstrate that they have plenty in reserve. The Atlanta Falcons also have a number of offensive weapons. On this team, you never know who will wind up with the football. The visiting Houston Oilers continue to work on their new system. Defensively, they do a lot of bump and run while their offense sends men in motion, but they often bump and run into the men in motion. The Oilers were on a collision course with their 20th consecutive road loss and NFL record. And Warren Moon found himself on a collision course with the Falcon Blitz. One of these days, Moon may emerge as a top-flight NFL quarterback, something that Steve Bartkowski already is. Bart threw a pair of touchdown passes to tight end Arthur Cox, number 88. And his scintillating 11 out of 13 performance also featured a 25-yard connection to Billy White Shoes Johnson, number 81. With an easy 42-10 victory, Atlanta became the NFC's highest-scoring team, and even their record at 2-2. While for the 4th straight week, the winless Oilers were again left to ponder what went wrong, besides everything. Fall in America means the arrival of the new network shows, and in Cleveland Sunday, over 77,000 witnessed a blockbuster premiere. For 3 games, the Brown defense looked more like TV's bloopers and jokes. But against Pittsburgh, they ripped up the Steelers like paper dolls. Linebacker Clay Matthews led Cleveland's charge and turned in a glittering play by stopping Rich Ehrenberg cold, stripping the ball and recovering the fumble as the Browns stymied Pittsburgh for much of the day. Despite Cleveland's heavy hitting, it was Pittsburgh's defense that registered the game's first score when NFL interception leader Sam Washington grabbed a tipped pass and took it the distance for a 7-0 Steeler lead. Give Me a Break and People Do the Craziest Things are sitcoms that Paul McDonald could star in, as 6 interceptions have made him Cleveland's fall guy. But a bullseye to Ozzie Newsome helped highlight a 222-yard second-half passing show. McDonald read a safety blitz by Steeler Rick Woods and dumped off to wide-open Boyce Green, who raced all alone 44 yards to cap off an upset 20-10 Cleveland win, their first of the year. Cincinnati's fall ratings have been dismal so far, but punter Pat McInally and co-stars pulled out all the stops, hoping to notch their first win of the season against the visiting Rams. A fake punt helped the Bengals tie the game, but with his father, Congressman Jack Kemp, watching from the stands, son Jeff found speedster Ron Brown, whose terrific catch gave the Rams a 14-7 third-quarter lead. With less than 2 minutes remaining, Ken Anderson found Chris Collinsworth to close within 3. Cincinnati had only one course of action, an onside kick. A kick that brought far different results than expected. Alert Mike Gooman was the finder of lost footballs as the Rams evened their mark at 2-2. As for the Bengals' record this season, all they had to do was consult the yard markers. 0-4. 60 minutes will no doubt be a big hit again this fall, and it took nearly the full 60 minutes to determine a winner in St. Louis's visit to New Orleans. Number 30 Wayne Wilson caught a Hokie Gaijan option pass and helped the Saints to a 13-7 halftime advantage. The NFC's most productive offense got it going when guard Joe Bostic opened up an alley for Stump Mitchell, who twice scored touchdowns, leaving the Saints elsewhere. Enter once again reserve Wayne Wilson, whose second scoring catch of the day helped pace a 34-24 down-to-the-wire victory for New Orleans. Out in Denver, setting of the smash hit dynasty, the pot was thick and drama was mile high. Last season, the Chiefs blew away the Broncos 48-17, and revenge was on the mind of a determined Denver defense. Linebacker Tom Jackson and company pressured Chief quarterback Todd Blackledge throughout. And at one point in the contest, Todd tried to see if injured teammate Bill Kenny was able to come in and try his hand against swarming Denver. Kenny declined the offer, but when Blackledge threw one Mike Harden's way, it was an offer he simply couldn't refuse. Denver atoned for last year's drubbing by shutting out the Chiefs 21-0. It's only a quarter of a way through the season, but if some teams don't get it on, a primetime showing in Super Bowl 19 might be canceled early.